Welcome to Clue Trail, where true stories unravel one step at a time. From crimes and cults to survival stories and the downright strange, we follow the twists that lead to the truth. If you're enjoying the show, check out Patreon for bonus episodes and early access. Just search Clue Trail or hit the link in the show notes. And don't forget to follow, rate, or review the podcast. It helps more curious minds find us. Now, let's dive into today's case. Today, we're heading to Eastern Europe, in Romania, where for years a series of unsolved crimes haunted rural areas and highways. Women were disappearing often while hitchhiking, and the cases seemed to fade without answers. At that time, no one knew who was responsible, and locals began to refer to the unknown killer with a chilling nickname, the Husi Monster. So, who was behind these crimes? What connected the victims? And how did the suspect stay off the radar for so long? This is the story of Catalin Ciolpan. Before we trace the crimes, it's important to understand the setting. Because what might seem risky today, especially for women traveling alone, back then was considered normal. Every victim in this case was hitchhiking. But in early 2000s Romania, this wasn't unusual. It was a common way to get from place to place. And to understand why, we need to look back. Until 1989, Romania was under the communist regime. Crime wasn't acknowledged, well, at least not officially. The state controlled the media tightly, and any incidents of violence were often downplayed or just hidden. The idea of a serial killer wasn't just rare, it was practically unheard of. Where in countries like the US, names like Bundy and Gacy were already part of the cultural conversation, in Romania, the concept of someone killing multiple strangers over time wasn't widely understood. That didn't mean people were unaware of danger. They were, but the threats people were used to looked different, more political than personal. Fear came in the form of surveillance, censorship, and rationing, not strangers on the roadside. After the regime fell, Romania entered a long and difficult period of transition. Infrastructure was unstable, and in many areas, public transport between towns was limited or unreliable, and private cars were a luxury for most families. So, hitchhiking, also known locally as yamanene, became an informal transport network. Drivers would pick up passengers, often for a small payment, and it was widely accepted. Every town had known pickup spots where people waited by the roadside, stuck out a hand, and someone would stop. It was just the norm for that period. And that's what makes what happened next all the more unsettling. Because these women weren't doing anything out of the ordinary. They were simply trying to get from one place to another. Our story begins in the northeastern town of Husi on 11th of October 2000. Marcela Tomosei, a 29-year-old nurse and mother of two, was heading out to take part in a labor strike. You see, healthcare workers were protesting low wages, and Marcela planned to join them. Her husband walked her to the usual hitchhiking spot, and that was the last time he saw her. The very next day, her body was found near the ruins of an old brick factory in Berlad, a quiet, isolated area known to locals as a former gathering place for sex workers. She had been strangled, most likely with her own scarf, and all her jewelry were missing. There were no signs of sexual assault, no defensive injuries, just a single visible blow to the head, likely from being struck against a car. Police at the time believed she was killed elsewhere, then left at that location. The investigation moved slow, almost from the get-go, and at first, they believed this to be an isolated event. But, unfortunately, soon they would learn this was not the case. Just 6 weeks later, whilst Marcela's investigation was ongoing, another case came to light. On 30th of November, 2 men were collecting firewood near the village of Mitok. It was an uneventful winter afternoon, just walking around collecting wood. But that was until, hidden underneath leaves and branches, they came across a pile of clothing: jeans, underwear, jogging bottoms. Then amongst the clothes and debris, they found a skull. The victim was later identified as 30-year-old Safta, a mother of 2 from Vinderei. Safta's story is one of resilience. After losing her mining job in Hunedoara, she and her husband moved back home. The stress of losing everything eventually led to divorce, and her former husband passed away soon after. But determined to support her children, Safta found work abroad in Turkey. And it was on 10th of October, just 1 day before Marcela Tomosei vanished, when Safta traveled to Berlad to visit her brother. She planned to go to Vaslui to finalize work plans and collect some funds. But like Marcela, she never arrived. During the forest search after Safta's discovery, one of the firewood collectors made a confession. He had seen the bones earlier, actually some weeks ago, but didn't report them. You see, he was worried he'd be fined for letting his sheep graze in that area. And after this confession, he took the police deeper into the woods. Roughly 800 meters from the first spot, they found another body, or what remained of one. A skull, 3 bones, and fragments of clothing was all that was left. Police believed the remains belonged to Maria Buru, a 46-year-old woman from Rekitawasa. She had disappeared in August the same year after leaving to visit her sister in Vaslui. Unfortunately, no concrete cause of death could be identified. But Maria's family had doubts. They never believed the remains in the woods were of their mother. Her children pointed out that the skull had all its teeth when their mother, they said, had been missing one for years. And although later on they requested a DNA test, authorities declined, quoting the high cost for the DNA test, as well as the sample being too degraded. To this day, Maria was never laid to rest. The investigation in these murders didn't actually lead anywhere concrete. The first thing the investigators noted was that the forest where the remains were found was very remote, hidden behind a hill and not visible from the road. Locals described it as a quiet area that had once attracted sex workers. It wasn't a place you'd come across by accident, so could the criminal be a local? This theory was ruled out quickly. As you see, the one responsible for these murders must have had a car. All women were hitchhiking before their tragic end. So the theory the police had was that the women were picked up, murdered in another location, and then their bodies were left in these secluded locations. And as we mentioned at the start, car owners were very few, especially in the villages near these woods. 4 witnesses actually reported seeing a red Dacia parked nearby the woods, and one thought he saw a woman in the back seat. And although a sketch was made from their account, the witnesses had been drinking that day, and in the end, the lead didn't hold up. And that was it. 3 women murdered in the same area, similar disappearances, and no clues or witnesses. So, the cases went cold, and 4 years passed without another case. But that was until 2004. On 20th of May 2004, 29-year-old Mioara Mania had just finished her shift at a bread factory in Bârlad. The next day was her mother's name day, an important celebration in Romania, and she planned to visit home in the village of Ciolpan. To get there, she would need to hitchhike. So that afternoon, she walked to the usual spot near a gas station. And then she vanished. 1 week later, her body was discovered in Tataran forest near Husi. This time, the violence Mioara had endured was more apparent. Her blouse had been pulled over her head, her pants and underwear had been pushed down, and one shoe was missing. She had been punched in the face and strangled, possibly with one hand. But unlike the other women, her jewelry was still present, but her coat and bag were never discovered. It makes you wonder, has the killer almost been discovered? That's why he was in a rush and left without her jewelry. Unfortunately, heavy rains had washed away most of the forensic evidence. It wasn't even clear whether she had been sexually assaulted. But it was clear that yet again, no one had seen or heard anything. So, the investigation stalled. And once again, the case went cold. For over a decade, the Romanian cases remained unsolved. Files just gathered dust and the families were left waiting for an answer. Then, unexpectedly, came a break. But not in Romania. This time, it was in Germany. On 2nd of June 2017, a 41-year-old Romanian man named Catalin Ciolpan was arrested by German authorities, not in connection with the Husi cases, but for 2 murders that had taken place in Austria and Germany. The first victim was Lucille Clobut, a 20-year-old French student in Austria. In 2014, while walking home along the River Aisne, she was attacked, sexually assaulted, and killed with a metal bar. 2 years later, in 2016, 27-year-old Caroline Gruber from Endingen, Germany, went jogging and never returned. Her body was found days later, also beaten and assaulted. From the get-go, the investigators suspected the offender to be someone who traveled for work. Both crimes occurred near highways and both on Sundays, when commercial traffic is restricted. So a major task force was created and they had a mammoth task: review all vehicle data, mobile phone records, and license plates traveling in the days the 2 women were abducted. Over 4,000 individuals were screened. Catalin Ciolpan was number 4,334. His phone has also pinged near the crime scenes, and they later found his DNA matched the one found on both victims. He was arrested and sentenced to life in prison. After his arrest in Germany, Romanian police were notified and reopened a series of old cases from the Husi region. They discovered that Ciolpan had grown up in Galați, which is not far from where the crimes in the early 2000s occurred, and he often drove through Husi area for work. He had also once owned a red Dacia, matching the witness description from the 2000s, and was known to collect firewood from the same forest where the remains of Safta and Maria were found. They also learned that in 2005, a woman in Iași, which is a city close to Husi, had reported Ciolpan for attempting to attack her. The case ultimately went nowhere as, according to the police, there wasn't enough evidence to pursue charges. I wonder if it had anything to do with the woman being a sex worker. However, now with fresh attention on the Husi cases, Romanian investigators finally took a closer look. They even tested a DNA sample collected from Mioara's body back in 2004 and compared it to Ciolpan's, but it didn't match. The result wasn't definitive. The sample had been badly degraded by time and exposure to the elements. Still, investigators noted the strong geographic and behavioral similarities between Ciolpan's known crimes and the Husi murders. The evidence was circumstantial, but to them, it was compelling. Romanian authorities officially considered Catalin Ciolpan the prime suspect in the Husi killings. The pattern was very clear. Victims who were isolated, attacked in remote locations, and left behind without a trace. And many believe there might be even more victims who have never been found. If that's true, then somewhere in the forests and fields of eastern Romania, there are lives lost that may never be recovered. Catalin Ciolpan is now serving a life sentence in Germany, convicted of 2 murders and suspected in several more. But in Romania, the families of Marcela, Safta, Maria, and Mioara are still waiting for answers, for closure, and for justice that remains unfinished. 3 of these women were mothers, all were daughters, friends, neighbors, just trying to get where they needed to go. They weren't doing anything unusual, but sadly, they crossed paths with a monster. Thank you for listening to Clue Trail. If you'd like to support the show and get access to bonus content, head over to Patreon and join the community. Just search Clue Trail Podcast or click the link in the show notes. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.